on Deputy Noel Grealish. I understand you have 10 minutes.
Good morning, Les Concorla, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to speak on this motion just before the Dáil, the spring economic statement that was issued by the government on Tuesday. Les Concorla, Minister Noonan spoke yesterday of the employment lost over the period of the recession being fully recovered by 2018, and Minister Howland made much of the employment increases in every quarter over the past 2 years. And look, I want to acknowledge what has happened in my own constituency of Galway West and South Mayo, and recently the two major job announcements of Apple, which is right next door to me, and I'm looking forward to going down visiting the plant in Cork next week and meeting with the senior executives of Apple. It's an 850 million investment, and it's 300 jobs. That has to be acknowledged, the tremendous work that's been done by the government, by the IDA, and also for Apple to pick Galway. And also I want to welcome the announcement earlier this year also of Zimmer, who are setting up a base in Nordenmore, 250 jobs. And I want to compliment Adrian Fury, who is the General Manager of Zimmer, who is a native of Nordenmore, and it's a great honour and achievement for him to be coming back to Nordenmore given employment. But one issue I noticed from the speech yesterday that was missing was the issue of immigration. In the last 5 or 6 years, there's been huge immigration from all towns, cities, and particularly rural Ireland. But no minister has hit that or mentioned that in their contributions here to the Dáil. And if you look at rural towns, rural villages in particular, and particularly the families there, every family, and particularly the sporting clubs, the GAA club, the soccer club, the football club, they have been hit drastically by immigration. Take, for instance, in Perth. 4 years ago there was one GAA club. Now there is 9 GAA clubs in Perth. And it just shows the level of immigration of our young people that has left this nation over the last 4 or 5 years. And that's not just Australia, it's also in Canada, it's also in the United States, and it's also in the United Kingdom. True, some of them are coming home, but only some of them. And hopefully, as the economy grows, but it's only growing in the major towns and cities, the rural towns have not been hit, have not benefited from the economic growth, and hopefully that we can see our youngest, brightest and best coming back to this country again. And I hope that the government will work on that, and I know the Minister here in front of me is working on that, and I hope that that can be achieved. But also, Les Concorla, there's one sector of our society that has not enjoyed the benefits of an improving economy. Figures released last week by the Central Statistics Office showed that while the number of people on the live register in Ireland has fallen substantially, those who have dependents have grown as a proportion of the total. 4 years ago, 24% of those signing on in this country had dependents, children, adults or both. And the latest figures show that this has now jumped to 29%. And while the overall number of people on the live register has fallen more than 96,000 in the last 4 years, a lot of it due to immigration, the number of those who have child dependents only has actually risen. This is a shocking indication to me of how young families in particular are continuing to suffer, and without doubt the shocking cost of childcare is a major factor in preventing parents of young children getting back into the workforce. The cost of childcare can be the equivalent of a second mortgage for most families, and that's the cause of a huge number of the working poor families. And it's imperative that the working group on childcare established by the Minister for Children and mentioned yesterday come up with an urgent targeted solution to a problem that's preventing a substantial sector of our population from enjoying some of the fruits of the recovery. I heard little detail yesterday either of the real relief for the people who have paid most in the price of austerity. The middle class of Ireland, the ordinary working people. These are the ones whose wages have been cut, for some people in the public sector by up to 20% and in the private sector by up to 30%, and even more in some cases. They've been hit with the likes of property tax and water charges, and many of them would have bought their houses in the height of the boom and now are in negative equity and struggling to meet their mortgages. Payments, and they still have to pay the universal social charge, a temporary emergency measure introduced in 2011. Now, even though the economy is heading in the right direction, the government won't abolish it, and I tell you, Les Concorla, it's the most hated tax out there. There's no relief for the people in Middle Ireland. These are the people who suffered the most, but they're getting nothing in terms that they are paying for everything. Now, if there was a return to the fortunes of the economy, we want to start giving back to the people who should be treated as a priority. The Spring Economic Statement also dealt with the plans for increased housing provisions, but most of these measures will take years to implement, and previous attempts to solve the housing crisis doesn't exactly install confidence in being successful. The waiting lists for housing in Galway and elsewhere in the country too have gone out of control. That is due to the fact that a lot of people are finding themselves in an unfortunate situation where they are unable to continue to pay their mortgage or pay the rents on their houses. An allocation of 58 million has been recently received by Galway City and County Councils to buy, build or lease homes for social housing needs, but the houses are not there. And I think every TD in this House can say that. If you went out to buy houses, they're just not there. And how long will it take to build houses? So this list is going to get longer. And I'm just looking even at an article in the Connacht Tribune, and the City Tribune, where it says that the latest list, council wait lists, are currently 4,401 people as of the 26th of April. And that's rising, and that has risen by over 670 in the last year. 4,000 people on the waiting list. Australia Lodge full to capacity. Hotels, people up. There's no houses out there. And I challenge the government to come up with some solutions. And I'm looking at an issue here, where I've suggested a short-term solution while we were waiting for all these new houses to be built. Allocate some of the social fund towards renovating derelict private houses, renting them from their owners. There's a lot of private houses out there that are derelict, where an elderly person might have died, left to a niece or a nephew or a son or daughter. They haven't the money to do it up. If them houses were done up, they could be rented to the state and alleviate some sort of the problem, and you'd be doing up old derelict houses. So, Minister, I'd ask the government to look at that solution. It's a solution, and you could work very well with the families in these areas that'd like to see the old family home or the old uncle or aunt's house done up. I'm conscious of the time, Ken Corla, and I just want to finish in a few points here. A big issue out there at the moment, Ken Corla, is the child home sharing and respite services. This is a huge issue at the moment. I think every TD in this House can say that there are families coming in, and it's very hard to sit opposite a table where a family are struggling immensely with a loved one at home who needs care, where the family needs even respite care. The respite care grant is being cut. It's not even there at the moment in Galway. I've put down Dail questions on this, and the Minister states it's a matter for the local health manager. You go and you meet the local health manager. They say it's a matter for the Brothers of Charity or Ability Wealth. You meet them. They just don't have the funds to provide the service. Minister, I plead and I beg with you to provide the funds for these services to provide, because these families are at breaking point. They cannot cope, and some of them will have a nervous breakdown. And the children then will have to be taken into state care. And finally, Les Concorla, I know I've only 1 minute left. The waiting list. There's over 400,000 people on the waiting list at the moment. I remember a number of years ago, Fine Gael put down a motion of no confidence in the then Minister, Mary Harney, when the waiting list hit 130,000. Now we're at over 400,000. Mary Harney brought in the National Treatment Purchase Fund, which reduced the waiting list. Minister Riley done away with it. I'm dealing with a case at the moment, an 87-year-old man, where his hip operation has been cancelled 5 times. That man is in pure agony. And Les Concorla, I'm just going to finish on one point here, if I can find the article where I read in the Irish Independent this morning. And I want to offer my condolences to the late Tommy O'Brien, who was at a wedding which is supposed to be the greatest day of anyone's couple's life, celebrating their daughter's marriage, and he collapsed and died with a massive heart attack. Owen, his son, addressed the congregation, and as I said, I want to offer my sympathy and condolences to the family. He addressed the congregation. This is what he said. Owen told the packed congregation, "The truth of the matter, though, is that Tommy shouldn't be lying in front of us here today." To get the second page, sorry, let's get Carla, yeah. Tommy shouldn't be lying in front of us here today. who died at his daughter's wedding and said that his father's heart, he was due to have a heart bypass operation last September, and it was continuously postponed due to the waiting list. Well, that waiting list is now one name short, and we are down a wonderful man. Our anger at losing Dad is this way is hard to quantify. There are political figures in the congregation today. We can accept your sympathy and your kind words, but we shouldn't have to accept this level of health service in a first world country. And I'll finish on this point, and this is what Owen finished on. To you, I say, please do more. Please do more to help the most vulnerable in our society.
Thank you, Deputy Grealish.